Hey guys, it's Daryl. It's Thursday morning. I want to do a video this morning on recovery. I see a lot. I see a lot of questions out there. I get a lot of questions from people just starting out in recovery. 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, 5 days, a week, 2 weeks, and I remember what that was like. That's one of the hardest periods you're ever gonna go through. I remember what it was like. That shit's on your mind constantly. It's like another little voice constantly yelling in your ear. Well, you could do this. You could get away with that. It was always that too. Like I'd hear that little voice say, "Well, you know what? You could do this. You could, you could get away with it. Nobody will ever know." And that's when you got to extinguish that shit immediately. Here's something that'll help too. Right as soon as you start thinking that, think about tomorrow. Think about next week. Where are you going to be next week? What's the end result going to be? Can anything good come out of what you're thinking? No, man. You're going to end up regretting it big time. You're going to be in a worse position. That's one of the biggest problems I remember looking back with addiction is we just think about instant gratification, and it's the truth. We do think about you got to think tomorrow. You don't want to. That little voice is telling you don't, just forget about that. You deserve it today. Nobody will know. You can get away with it, and it'll give you 100 reasons. That little voice will give you 100 reasons why you should just go sneak out. I remember I used to subconsciously count the money in my pocket. I used to go through the phone numbers in my head. I call that shit lighting the fuse, man. And the longer that fuse burns, the worse position you're in. Extinguish that shit immediately. Get busy. Change your mind. You got to think about the repercussions. You got to do that. If you got to learn to do that. Think about tomorrow. It's not all about the next 2 or 3 hours. How you're gonna blow your rent check. Yeah, think about that, man, because that was another thing. It's like, well, I'll worry about the money, tomorrow or next week, or no, man. Think about it right now. Think about how much fucking better you're gonna feel tomorrow if you don't do it, and then you get stronger each time you do that. That's how you get. People ask me, how do you do it? You got any advice? That's how you do it. Okay, one of the biggest, looking back, okay, I was in and out of detoxes and rehabs 13, I can count 13 or 14 times, probably more than that. And I had the best intention. I was the guy that led the groups in there too. I don't know why I always get picked for that stuff. I'm an introvert, but anyway, so I'd lead the groups in there, and I had the best intentions, man. I'd write down the groups I'm going to go to when I get out of the detox or the rehab, but as that day got closer, I never told anybody this, like right now, but in the back of my head, deep down, there was that little voice, well, do you have any money? Can you get any money? You might need money for food. You're gonna be broke. You're gonna need a little money for food, and it starts lying to you. It starts reasoning. Well, maybe you should go ask your family for a few bucks. You're just getting out. You're doing good. You could use a few dollars for food, and that little voice is lying to you, man. And you know it deep down. You know it. As soon as you get that money, the voice is gonna say, "Well, you know what? You deserve this," and you know what, do it. The voice says, do it slowly. You don't need to quit right away. Nobody's, there's 100 reasons, man. That little voice is a fucking liar. That little voice needs to die. I'm not kidding you, man. That's the addict. That's the other, the addict inside you. And the good news is, as time goes on, it will fade back. It will take a beating and it'll fade back. It's always going to be there. And that's another lesson later on that you're going to have to make sure you remember is it's always going to be there. Never turn your back and write off that addiction, that little voice in your head, because it's always going to be there, man. All right, here's another stuff that worked for me. When I find, so I'd get out. And the minute I walked out those doors, the rehab or the detox, it would start clicking. Well, what am I going to do? You walk out into that fresh air and bam, you're back in. This is the biggest problem. You're back into the world and you don't know anything but using. What are you going to do right now? You got to get around clean people. The little voice is going to make up a million reasons why you should go off and be by yourself and get money. What you got to do, it sounds like, it ain't easy. You basically have to, okay, you got to have a plan for almost every minute of that first day, especially new shit. Try to do stuff, go to the library, go shopping, take a walk. You got to be around other clean and sober people. You cannot go back and be around the friends that you used with. A good portion of the people I used with, I hesitate to even call it a friendship. We used from when I first met them all the way through. Those people have to go. They do. There's no easy way around it, and a lot of people have trouble with this. You got to turn your back on your friends. You got to walk away from your friends, the people you used with. You have to. That's one of the times I relapsed. Is a guy got in my car. I went to give him a ride, right? And I told him I'm doing good. I'm clean and sober. And this guy was cool about it. He's like, "That's great, Daryl." He was still using, but he was cool about it. He didn't bring up drugs. And he's like, "Just drop me off here." He tried to get out of the car quick. He just needed a ride. And, he was honestly trying not to be an ass, not to bring up drugs or anything. We laughed a bit about stuff, and but he was honestly trying to help me out. So he gets out of the car, right? And what do? Right? In my mind, I remember our laughter, and when we're in the car, and that laughter, that good time, that good feeling of me and him sitting together, laughter, it was a fucking trigger. It was a trigger for me. I dropped him off, and I went right into the hood and fucking bought everything, crack, heroin, and it wasn't him. It was the memories of our friendship. See, so people can be good. It's not that person. It's the trigger. It's the memories in your head. That's something that people have a hard time. That's a bit of honesty you gotta realize. These people, yeah, they're good people. Yeah, your friends care about you, but it's not gonna make a difference. When you're together, I remember that when I was in that car, the laughter, we laughed, and that was the trigger. I can't, explain it deeper why and all that, but looking back, that laugh, remember our laughter together, and that was a trigger. I don't know how or why, but I dropped him off. He had nothing to do with it, but our memory of me hanging out with him, bam. It was one of the strongest triggers, one of the last relapses. And I remember that. You got to learn from your fucking relapses, man. And I've kept that in my head 12 years later. 15 years later to this day, I will never forget that day. You got to learn from your relapses, man. It's not the people. They're not bad people. Your friends, the people you used to hang out with, because a lot of people will say, "Well, my buddy's trying to help me." Yeah, he still uses, but he doesn't use around me. No, man, no. It ain't going to make a difference. Just the situation, the memories is, that guy could be nowhere, that girl could be nowhere around. And that's going to come back as a trigger, and it's going to trigger you. Trust me on this. Get rid of the phone numbers. I had a hard time it took so long for me to forget the dealer's numbers, but they go. You're going to have to change everything. Here's the thing. It's questionable. This worked for me. Medically assisted treatment. Okay. Suboxone, methadone, others. The subcutaneous, the ones that go into the skin. They do work. You got to have a positive mindset, and you're going to have to wean yourself off, but you're going to be in a lot stronger place at that time when you wean yourself off. The good thing is they do not, people, the clinics and whatnot do not rush you. They let you do it at your own pace. And you could do it, and it's not that bad. Weaning yourself off, say like methadone or Suboxone, a couple milligrams a week, and you come back, and it's not that bad. It's a very helpful way to, it works, especially for people that keep failing at recovery. If you think you're close to losing your life from overdose or whatever, I resisted using it time and time again. The doctors would write me notes that I could go in, get into the clinic or whatever, and I would throw them away. I bet God, it's just like heroin. It's just like the drugs. What do I need that for? You know? And thank God, one time I was at the end of my rope, man. The end of my rope. The 14th, 13th, 14th recovery. They weren't even going to take me anymore. Everybody lost hope in me. My family, everybody. End of my rope. And I took that note to the hospital, to the clinic, and it changed my life. Just it worked for me, you know. Other people have different opinions, whatever. I'm telling you what worked for me, you know, the honest, straight truth. So, okay, that's my advice for today. I'll talk more tomorrow. But you guys, as soon as you get out of it into that clean environment, man, beware of the voice, the addict voice. It's always going to be there, and don't extinguish that fuse quick, because it's going to start saying, well, you could do this. You got this much money. If you do this, you can extinguish that shit quick. Think about, oh God, think about anything. Oh, one more thing. At the very beginning, what really helped me, I needed something to do. And I had a little extra money because I wasn't spending on drugs. A lot of recovering addicts I found go to malls, go shopping, just to start buying new clothes. It's a nice little reward for yourself, because you find yourself with a few extra bucks because you're not buying drugs anymore. And that was something for me to do, and make sure it's not a place where people that use go. But seriously, shopping, malls, stores, at the very beginning, if you have no idea what to do, that helped me. You know, go out and buy yourself a new shirt. It makes you feel good, you know, and it's a beginning, you know, as opposed to spending all your money on drugs. Something else I would recommend that worked for me, you know. Small thing, but those little small things add up and they help. All right, man. Get out there, stay clean, stay sober, kick ass.